Hello, my name is Kathryn Sullivan and I'm the course director for the Transform programme with Getting on Board. Welcome to the information webinar to give you more detail regarding our Transform programme, how it works and how you can get involved. I've been working with Getting on Board for a number of years now and have been course director for Transform since 2021. We have seen a range of different size charities with different focus across different areas of the UK go through the programme, and we have developed and evolved the programme from learning from those cohorts to make it the best possible system for you to get the support to do excellent recruitment for your Board of Trustees. I want to start by talking a little bit about why trustee diversity is important in terms of the current status of the charity sector in England and Wales, although we know that this similar picture exists in Scotland and in Northern Ireland as well. So first of all, the average age of a trustee is between 60 and 62, and only 0.5% of trustees are between the ages of 18 to 24, despite making up 12% of the population. 2/3 of charity trustees are over 50 and 51% of trustees are retired. This information is taken from a commissioned report from 2017 called Taken on Trust. We know that these figures are unlikely to have dramatically shifted, although obviously there will be differences in particular charities. We know that some of this data is skewed. So, for example, women make up just 36% of trustees, but we know that overwhelmingly these women appear in particular sectors of the charity world. So, health and social care, in the arts, and potentially in education as well. Whereas in other areas such as grant giving, it's much less likely to be the case. There are other protected characteristics, including race. So people of colour represent just 8% of trustees versus 14% of the wider population. And again, this is skewed towards charities whose beneficiaries might fall into those protected characteristics. We also know that other minority groups there is no data on. So currently there is no data collected on disabled people and other minorities who are likely to be underrepresented. But the fact that no statistics are available at all makes it very, very difficult for us to understand that bigger picture. The report also did some really interesting research into the notion of class. So 30% of trustees have a postgraduate education, which is obviously a lot more than the general population. And 60% of trustees have a professional qualification, which is really interesting when the same report reflects that almost 60% of charities felt their board lacked the professional skills in order to move their charity forward. So there's obviously a disconnect there in terms of the professional qualifications. Significantly, 75% of trustees are from households above the national median for household income, which means that we know that the wealthier end of our population are the people who are appearing on trustee boards, which obviously skews the discussions that are being had. That leads us on to quite nicely about why trustee diversity matters at all. And there's a number of different reasons, and I'm not going to go into all of them, but we're going to give you a little bit of a sense of why it does matter. So our first quote is from the Charity Governance Code, which for those of you not familiar with it is a sector developed code, which is designed to help charities to reflect on their high performance and to become even more high performing. And they've got a section on equality, diversity and inclusion, which was refreshed just a couple of years ago. And this is what the quote says. Diversity in the widest sense is essential for boards to stay informed and responsive to navigate the fast-paced and complex changes facing the voluntary sector. Boards whose trustees have a different backgrounds and experience are more likely to encourage debate and to make better decisions. In addition, the Charity Commission for England and Wales says uniformity at board level puts any organisation in any sector at risk of adverse group dynamics, including groupthink, an unwillingness to challenge colleagues, and complacency of vision. Charities are not immune to that. So both the sort of sector best practice and the England and Wales regulatory body both talk about diversity in and of itself as being really important for good governance. So that's one of the reasons that we know that diversity on boards is important. Here are a range of other reasons why we think that diversification of boards is crucial. As we've said, challenge and difference are at the very heart of effective governance. So to be an effectively governed organisation, you need to consider different perspectives. The easiest way to do this is to have diverse views on your board. Research also shows that a relevant mix of people on our boards is one of the primary ways of building organisational resilience, because you are used to thinking about things in a slightly different or in multiple formats, which means when challenges come your way, you are more likely to be able to meet those challenges and to rise above them. As trustees, it's our legal responsibility to do our best by our organisation, and a lack of diversity, as we've established from the Charity Commission, on our board is a risk. Number 4, boards should be close to the changing needs of current and potential service users. What we do is for the benefit of our beneficiaries, and our current service users certainly understanding how they are experiencing our services and our charities really, really important, but also potential service users, thinking about the people who in the future might want to access, understanding their changing needs is what helps an organisation stay really, really relevant. Number 5 for me is the most important. Why would we want to miss out on all the talent? If you have a closed recruitment process, you are restricting the pool of potential applicants for your organisation. And I just don't understand why anyone would want to do that. Having the broadest set of applicants gives you the best chance of getting amazing trustees onto your board to help you do the things that makes your charity so special. Number 6, board diversity is essential for credibility. I absolutely believe that is true. However, if that is the only reason that you think that you should be embarking on a process of board diversification, then I would say that the Transform programme is not for you. The Transform programme is for people who already understand the other reasons that diversity is really important. What we can do though is signpost you, and I'm going to do that in a second, to some resources that can help you to understand what you can do, actions that you can take around board diversity, and considering how it might improve your board decision making in the future. As I said, that we have a number of resources that you can utilize for free on Getting On Board's website. This is just one of them, how to recruit trustees for your charity. It's a practical guide, and we use this guide as a foundation for the Transform programme, more generally speaking. And it gives you an insight into how we have framed the programme, which I will come to later on. We've also got a couple of new resources, including the how to diversify your board specifically, a guide that you can download from our website for free. You just need to provide us with some contact information for you. But there are a range of resources you can have a look at to find out a bit more about how we've formulated this and other programmes that we run. I want to talk a little bit about the preconceptions that you're up against. Trustee recruitment is one of the most common challenges that people talk about when they discuss their experiences of being a trustee at all, but also particularly people who've been a chair of a trustee board. So this is some quotes from people who were aspiring trustees that Getting On Board conducted in 2020. It's always white men, so I never see myself in this description. Reading through the description of who you were looking for made me think it could be me. That's a really lovely description of what is going through somebody's mind who maybe has traditionally been excluded from board recruitment. They see it as being a particular way, and the ability for you as an organisation to change that perception through your advert and through the way that you describe trusteeship and what it means to your organisation is really powerful. The second quote is one that stays with me all the way through the programme that I when I train anything for Getting On Board. I thought that trusteeship was bestowed upon people when they have a lot of influence, power and success, I didn't know you could apply to be a trustee. This picture that we have in our heads of trusteeship is very Victorian in many ways. It's a philanthropic, from the great and the good to the poor and the needy. And it is something that is perpetuated by society. We don't talk about trusteeship in schools. We don't talk about it in as much as we should do, I think, in colleges and universities. And it's only in small numbers of workforces that trusteeship in its own right, as opposed to general volunteering, is discussed as a volunteering role, as a professional development role, etc. So we don't have a picture of trusteeship. So what we have a picture of is some of the massive charities, some of the big, the top 76 charities in England and Wales take something like 75% of the income. And that's what we're seeing, is the people who are on those mega charity boards. Lots of them are incredible individuals who've achieved great personal success. That's brilliant for those charities, but that does mean for the rest of us is that we look at those trustees and sometimes think that's really intimidating. That obviously means that you've got to be in a particular setup in order to become a trustee, and obviously we know that's just not true. The second half of this sentence, I think, is incredibly interesting. I didn't know you could apply to be a trustee. We think that just 10% of vacancies on trustee boards are openly advertised at any one time, which means that people aren't seeing the vacancies as genuine options for them. They're not seeing an application process. They're not, let alone being able to understand how to navigate that system. So these are the preconceptions that we are coming against when we are looking to recruit for our board. And that's why closed recruitment historically hasn't worked. It's been luck of the draw as to whether anybody in your own network has been able and willing to step forward as a trustee. Alongside the actual diversity of the numbers on your board, we do talk about in the Transform programme the creation of an inclusive environment. And there's a few different reasons for this. I think this quote really sums this up. Diversity doesn't matter as much on boards where members' perspectives are not regularly elicited or valued. To make diverse boards more effective, boards need to have a more egalitarian culture, one that elevates different voices, integrates contrasting insights, and welcomes conversations about diversity. Nobody wants to be a token appointment on a board, least of all the board themselves. Having a token appointment doesn't add any value to your organisation. So thinking about how you can include different perspectives and overcome some of the structural barriers that are in place to prevent people contributing in the way that they are able to, and to look to their potential. So getting into the specifics about the Transform programme itself, it's been going for a number of years. It's evolved over time from an in-person day into the model that we have right now. It's recently gone through a refresh based on the feedback that we've had from previous cohorts, some of the learning that myself and my incredible co-trainers have had through the programme, and shifting understanding of the recruitment world as well, and particularly post-COVID and the pandemic. It's based on a relatively straightforward recruitment process. So it starts with working out what you need on your board. It's the first of the cohort sessions that we run, because without working out what you need, you can't do any of the rest of the work. If you're just generically asking for trustees, that's fine, but most people have particular needs, whether it's the challenges and opportunities that your organisation is facing in the next 3 to 5 years, or particular work streams or the focus of your work, that you might have big projects coming up, etc., and that you need to make sure that you've got covered from a governance perspective. From that first session, you can move into sections 2 and 3, which is about the advert. So what to include in your advert, how language is really, really important, that it brings both the best and the worst of our organisations out to the public sphere, and then what goes alongside that advert. So what information can you give to people in developing your recruitment pack? Session 3 that we do on the cohort is around the targeting of advertising and converting interest into applications. And this is all about, yes, where to host adverts, where we know people have been successful in the past, but also how to open up and develop interesting and diverse networks of people who can do that work for you. Targeting your advertising and converting interest into applications is the hardest part of this program. We know repeatedly the people who have been the most successful are the people who've put the most amount of resource into that section. We then do a session 4 is around shortlisting and interviewing. Quite commonly, the response from people when I talk about shortlisting is we've never had to shortlist. We've never had more applications than interview slots. We would massively hope that on the Transform programme, you would see a difference in that. But also the fact that shortlisting is a really good practice in and of itself to make sure that you are taking the best people for your organisation's needs at that time forward to interview. There's nothing in this programme that diminishes the requirement for your organisation to have amazing trustees. We know you already have them in post right now. We're wanting to complement that and add to that. And that's what we're looking for in a shortlisting and in an interview process. The last session that we do that is a formalised delivery on session 5 is the getting people onto the board, so induction and inclusion practices, making sure, as it says in session 8 there, that you don't fall at the final hurdle. We talk about the need to provide training, support, guidance, information, whilst not overwhelming your new trustees. We talk about the difference between HR practices that you may have in your organisation and being a trustee and the governance processes that you would need to put in place as a complement to that. And inclusion practices, we definitely talk about what behaviours and practices exclude different types of people, so that you can have the most amount of information to get those trustees hitting the ground running and contributing to your board, as you hope they will do from day one. So because of that, how we've designed the programme is like this. We have 6 cohort sessions, so the 5 that I've just talked about, plus 1 that is bespoke to that cohort. So we don't design it in advance. We work with the cohort over the previous 5 weeks to develop a final session that is of the most value to your particular needs. It's really recognising and reflecting on the fact that every charity, with every group of trustees and senior leadership where they have them, are in a different place from each other, and that we need to respond to those things to give the most value. But working with other charities, the peer support that you get from being on the cohort is second to none. They are other charities who are also trying to enhance their board recruitment, and that means that you are learning as you go from each other's experiences. You're trialing and testing things out with each other in a really safe and secure environment. In addition to the cohort workshops, you also have one-to-one support for your organisation's recruitment plan. So we do that by giving you access to myself and or another trainer on specific elements of your recruitment. So that could be that you want us to proof your advert. You might want us to make introductions to different networks that we have contact with, or to support you with developing relationships with new networks. Whatever it is, we can go into in a one-to-one basis. We can do that remotely via email, or we can do it on Zoom as well. We have support for your new trustees in terms of onboarding, which is included in the programme, so that they can access a sort of induction around being a trustee. So what are the basics involved in doing that work? And it just saves you having to think about all the elements all the time. It gives you a little bit of an extra edge in terms of supporting those trustees, whilst you also focus on your induction specifically for your charity. So we look after some generic stuff. There are options to gain discounted or free access to other getting on board support, such as inclusive board practices, and we do have specialists who are able to come into your organisation, and we can negotiate different rates for Transform participants to be part of that programme. Why we know it works. We have had excellent success rates from participants. Every single cohort comes around when I get feedback, and I feel excited to hear the numbers of people that they've had through, the range of applicants that they've had, the people that they didn't know exist, the unicorn trustees that at the beginning of the programme they were unsure they would ever be able to reach, and in fact not only did they reach them, but they successfully navigated them onto their board. We have case studies around this, and if you would like to see some of those, please do get in touch for more information. We've also modelled the programme in a way that allows you to learn from a range of industry experts. Although I'm the Transform Director, I am not a single expert in this field. There are a range of colleagues that I am delighted to work with, who come into the different sessions and to give you the benefit of their expertise, their experience, their knowledge, and their understanding. And that also allows you to have a range of perspectives through the programme as well, although I am always delighted to get to know the charities in a bit more detail. We also hear from other charity leaders who have gone through an open recruitment process before, what they've learned from it, as well as hearing from trustees who might be from those traditionally marginalised or underserved groups, who come and speak about what made the difference for them in terms of approaching charities or responding to adverts for charities. So you can have a range of understandings and perspectives. Like I said before, the peer support element of Transform for me is second to none. So learning from charity colleagues who are experiencing similar challenges, it's always amazing to watch. And certainly the feedback from that very first session, when we're looking at what you are looking for on your board. And quite often that can feel very isolating for a chair or a chief exec or a board of trustees collectively to consider. We must be the only people who are looking for this, and actually to understand that no matter what subsector of the charity sector you operate in, no matter what location you are, no matter who your beneficiaries are, there are still some challenges that we are all experiencing, and to hear that in real time from your peers just elevates the content of the programme for me. The other thing that we know works definitely is that it provides a real focus for your efforts to be more effective. There's nothing worse than spending lots and lots of time and energy and sometimes money on a piece of work, but it's not actually getting you any results. Because this program is designed to be done live with your recruitment plan, you are able to draft your advert in real time. So you don't go to a workshop and then go away and have to do loads of thinking. You can do it there and then in the workshops. Don't worry if your recruitment plan isn't ready to go in the time frame of one of our getting on board time slots. We are flexible around that, and you can ask us for more information during the onboarding process if you wish to do so. What it does do is allows 2 or 3 people from your organisation to be the real focus. They are the leaders of this work for your organisation, whilst taking back tangible plans, ideas, conversations to the rest of the board to be able to have the most effective open recruitment plan. And we know that's the thing that is the difference between having an okay recruitment round and an outstanding exceptional recruitment round. And we also know that exceptional recruitment rounds lead to more successful charities in the long run as well. I'd like to thank you for taking an interest in the Transform programme. I do hope that you will get in touch to find out more information. There are a number of ways that you can ask us questions. We are on social media. You can get in touch via the website, or you can email us directly. I hope to hear from many of you in due course.